Some iPhone 14 rumors are obviously fake, but other rumors, well, you can kind of see Apple doing them. Today, we're covering all of the big ones, and assuming that they're true, which is a big assumption, I know, we're gonna try to figure out why they would actually make sense for Apple to do. Starting off with the first one, in that there won't be an iPhone 14 mini. Now, I know some diehard mini fans are gonna hate this news, but at least for Apple, I think canceling the mini makes a lot of sense. Not only were the iPhone minis not selling well, which last time I checked, Apple likes making money.
Hello, I like money.
But mini iPhones were also probably harder to engineer, since Apple had to match the feature set of the bigger standard iPhone, but cram all of that tech into that tiny footprint. Figuring out things like how to dissipate heat and manage battery life while also including bigger and bigger camera systems in there probably just wasn't worth the effort to Apple anymore. And it's possible that Apple felt that the mini was holding back the standard iPhone, since they couldn't add features to the standard one if they couldn't also make it work on the mini. So for Apple, canceling it is the lesser evil. You disappoint a small subset of your customer base to improve the iPhone for a larger one. The good news is I think the mini will one day make a comeback, just with less pressure on it as the 4th generation iPhone SE. But moving on, the next rumor is Apple is supposedly planning a bigger version of the standard iPhone 14 called the iPhone 14 Max, or maybe the iPhone 14 Plus. But either way, this phone will be mostly identical to the standard iPhone 14, just with a bigger 6.7-inch screen. Now, the reasoning behind this phone is basically the opposite of the mini, in that it won't hold back the standard iPhone, because at that point, the standard iPhone will be the lowest common denominator as far as what tech you can fit into it, and unlike the mini, I think the Max will be super popular. A lot of people have been wanting a bigger iPhone without having to pay the $300 extra for the Pro Max model, so I think it'll sell really well. And because Apple can charge $100 extra for it, whereas with the mini they were charging $100 less than the standard iPhone, the iPhone 14 Max will probably yield Apple a higher profit margin. So again, assuming that all this logic is valid, it makes perfect sense for Apple to come out with the Max, outside of a small risk that the iPhone 14 Max will cut into the sales of the iPhone 14 Pro Max, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right, this next rumor is crazy. According to one of the most prominent leakers out there, Apple is going to be using the same A15 Bionic chip from last year's iPhone inside of the iPhone 14 and the 14 Max, with only the Pro models this year actually getting the new A16 chip. Now, immediately, I want to say this one is false. I just can't see Apple going up on stage, introducing a shiny new iPhone, and then admitting that they're using a year-old chip. I think there would just be too much backlash for that. However, I do think it's possible that Apple will tweak the A15 a little, enough to where they'll be able to call it a new chip like the A15X or even the A16, while calling the real A16 the A16 Pro. They've already done this with the iPads and the Apple Watch, and on the iPhone, it would not only help Apple differentiate the Pro models even more from the standard ones, but there's also rising costs and supply chain issues that might actually be forcing Apple's hand to use a rebranded A15 in order to keep that base price at $800. Speaking of price though, this next rumor you're not gonna like, in that the Pro models are gonna be even more expensive this year, with the 14 Pro going up from $1,000 to $1,100, and the Pro Max's price going up to $1,200 from $1,100. Now, trying to see this from Apple's perspective, I understand why they do this.
Money!
It's been 5 years since Apple first introduced that $1,000 iPhone X, and since then, they haven't changed the price on that model once yet. If you filled up your gas tank lately, you know that things are more expensive today than they were back in 2017, so a price bump seems inevitable, but still, it's gonna be a tough pill to swallow, and I think Apple is gonna do everything in their power to differentiate the Pro models this year to make it seem like it's worth the extra money. They're already supposedly making that A16 chip exclusive, and the next rumor is they're gonna get rid of the notch on the Pro models and instead go with this pill and hole punch cutout for Face ID and the selfie cam. Now, at first glance, this cutout seems a little pointless, right? Like, you're not getting extra screen real estate with these cutouts. The sensors are still there, they're not underneath the screen or anything, and the double cutouts might actually be more distracting than the notch. But in the context of trying to differentiate the Pro models, it makes sense. Right now, someone can only tell you have a Pro model by the triple camera system on the back, but for only $100 extra, on the new iPhone, everyone will know that you went with a Pro model even on the front. But jokes aside, I do think it's one of the real reasons for Apple, but obviously by going with the cutouts, the phone will also look more modern. Next rumor is that the Pro iPhones are gonna use titanium this year instead of stainless steel. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if this one ends up being true, since it's not like Apple doesn't already sell products with titanium and stainless steel like they do with the Apple Watch, and titanium has the advantage of being at least as strong, if not stronger than stainless steel, while also being significantly lighter. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is a heavy phone, someone at Apple must have picked it up at some point and realized that the phone is not comfortable to hold in the hand, and titanium might actually help out with that. And since they already charge $100 more for titanium on the Apple Watch, they might use it as another way to justify the price increase on the 14 Pros. Unless they plan on making it an extra option that they charge you even more for. Okay, last rumor on the iPhone 14 Pro and the Pro Max is that they're getting a new 48 megapixel main camera that would be the first departure from the 12 megapixel sensors Apple's been using since the iPhone 6S all the way back in 2015. And well, you always expect Apple to go with a better camera on the new iPhone, especially on the Pros, and with a 48 megapixel sensor, it'll be the biggest leap in resolution ever. So you know Apple is gonna market the heck out of that, and it'll probably feel like a big enough reason for a lot of people to buy a Pro model despite the price increase and despite the iPhone 14 Max being in the fold. But there you go. Those are all the rumors that are out right now. I think they make sense, or maybe I'm just making sense out of them. Who knows how many of them will end up being true at the end of the day? I guess we'll see. But what do you think? Do you think these rumors are true? Do you think they're completely off base? And why? Let me know down below in the comments. Anyways, that is it for me in this video. Thank you for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the very next episode.